Good evening, and welcome to tonight's exploration of one of the most infamous disasters in aviation history. On the 6th of May, 1937, the world watched in horror as the pride of German engineering, the LZ-129 Hindenburg, erupted into flames over Lakehurst, New Jersey. This catastrophic event not only claimed 36 lives, but also marked the dramatic end of the golden age of airship travel. Tonight, we'll delve into the details of this tragedy, examining its causes, consequences, and the lasting impact it had on the world of aviation and public perception. As we begin our journey through this pivotal moment in history, it's crucial to understand the context in which the Hindenburg operated. This marvel of engineering was the largest aircraft ever built at the time, stretching an impressive 804 feet in length. To put that into perspective, that's nearly the length of 4 Boeing 747s placed end to end. The Hindenburg was the flagship of the Zeppelin Company, a symbol of German technological prowess and a luxurious mode of transatlantic travel. However, its impressive size and grandeur would ultimately contribute to its downfall. Let's set the scene for that fateful day in May 1937. The Hindenburg had departed from Frankfurt, Germany, on the evening of May 3rd, embarking on what was to be the first of 10 scheduled round trips between Europe and the United States for its second year of commercial service. The journey across the Atlantic had been largely uneventful, save for some strong headwinds that had delayed the airship's arrival. As the Hindenburg approached the American coast, anticipation was high both on board and on the ground. It's worth noting that the Hindenburg was carrying only half its full capacity of passengers and crew on this particular flight. 36 passengers out of a possible 70 and 61 crew members, including 21 trainees, were on board. Interestingly, the return flight was fully booked, with many passengers planning to attend the coronation of King George VI and Queen Elizabeth in London the following week. This relatively light passenger load would prove to be a small mercy in the face of the impending disaster. As the Hindenburg approached the eastern seaboard of the United States, it encountered some unexpected challenges. The airship was already hours behind schedule when it passed over Boston on the morning of May 6th. To make matters worse, afternoon thunderstorms were brewing over Lakehurst, New Jersey, the intended landing site. Captain Max Pruss, faced with this meteorological obstacle, made a decision that would inadvertently provide one last spectacular view of the mighty airship to the citizens of New York. Advised of the poor weather conditions at Lakehurst, Captain Max Pruss charted a course over Manhattan Island, causing a public spectacle as people rushed out into the street to catch sight of the airship. As evening approached on that fateful day, the Hindenburg began its final descent towards Lakehurst Naval Air Station. The time was around 7:00 p.m, and the airship was at an altitude of 650 feet. The crew prepared for what's known as a high landing, or a flying moor. This manoeuvre involved dropping the landing ropes and mooring cable at a high altitude, after which the airship would be winched down to the mooring mast. While this approach reduced the number of ground crew required, it was a more time-consuming process. What's particularly intriguing about this landing approach is that while it was a common procedure for American airships, the Hindenburg had only performed it a handful of times at Lakehurst during the previous year. This relative lack of experience with the manoeuvre at this specific location may have contributed to the tension of the moment. As someone who studied numerous aviation incidents, I can tell you that unfamiliarity with procedures, even slight, can sometimes play a crucial role in the chain of events leading to a disaster. The next few minutes were a delicate dance between man and machine, as Captain Pruss and his crew worked to position the massive airship for landing. At 7:09 p.m, the Hindenburg made a sharp, full-speed left turn to the west around the landing field. This manoeuvre was necessitated by the ground crew not being ready for the airship's arrival. Just 2 minutes later, at 7:11 p.m, the airship turned back toward the landing field and began valving gas to reduce altitude. At 7:21 p.m, while the Hindenburg was at an altitude of 295 ft, 90 mist, the mooring lines were dropped from the bow. The starboard line was dropped first, followed by the port line. The calm of the evening was shattered at precisely 7:25 p.m. Eyewitness accounts vary, but several people reported seeing the fabric of the airship's outer cover flutter, as if gas was escaping. Others described seeing a dim blue flame, possibly static electricity, moments before the fire erupted. The exact point of ignition has been debated for decades, but what's clear is that within seconds, the Hindenburg was engulfed in flames. The speed at which the fire spread was truly terrifying. Analysis by NASA's Addison Bain suggests that at some points during the crash, the flame front was spreading across the airship's fabric skin at a rate of about 49 feet per second. To put that into perspective, that's faster than Usain Bolt's top sprinting speed. The entire destruction of the airship took somewhere between 32 to 37 seconds, depending on various eyewitness accounts. One of the most chilling aspects of this disaster was how it unfolded in full view of the public and the press. The landing of the Hindenburg had drawn a significant crowd, including several newsreel camera teams. This meant that the catastrophe was captured on film, producing some of the most iconic and haunting footage of the 20th century. The terrifying images of the Hindenburg consumed by flames, coupled with reporter Herbert Morrison's emotional radio broadcast, seared this event into the public consciousness in a way few disasters before it had done. It's burst into flames. Get this, Charlie, it's fire, and it's crashing. It's crashing terrible. Oh my, get out of the way, please. It's burning and bursting into flames and it's falling on the mooring mast and all the folks between it. This is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world. In the wake of the disaster, investigators from both Germany and the United States scrambled to understand what had gone so catastrophically wrong. The US Commerce Department set up a board of inquiry at Lakehurst, headed by Colonel South Trimble Jr., while the German commission was led by the renowned Hugo Eckener, a figure I've long admired for his contributions to airship development and safety. Over the years, numerous theories have been proposed to explain the Hindenburg disaster. These range from sabotage, a popular initial theory, to static electricity, lightning strikes, engine failure, and even the flammability of the airship's outer covering. Each of these hypotheses has its proponents and detractors, and the debate continues to this day. As someone who's spent years studying aviation history, I find the Hindenburg disaster particularly fascinating because of this ongoing mystery. It's a stark reminder that even with modern investigative techniques, some historical events continue to elude our full understanding. One theory that I find particularly intriguing is the static spark hypothesis, which was favoured by Hugo Eckener himself. This theory suggests that the airship had built up a significant static charge during its flight through high humidity conditions. When the wet mooring ropes touched the ground, they grounded the frame but not the outer skin, creating a potential difference. This could have led to a spark jumping from the skin to the metal framework, igniting leaking hydrogen. It's a compelling explanation that aligns with our understanding of the physics involved, but like all theories about the disaster, it's not without its critics. The spark would have jumped from the skin onto the metal framework, igniting the leaking hydrogen. The Hindenburg disaster had far-reaching consequences that extended well beyond the immediate loss of life and property. It marked the end of the era of passenger-carrying rigid airships, a mode of transportation that had captured the public imagination for decades. The shocking images of the Hindenburg in flames broadcast around the world shattered public confidence in airship travel almost overnight. It's worth noting that the Hindenburg disaster wasn't the deadliest airship accident in history. That dubious honour belongs to the crash of the helium-filled USS Akron in 1933, which claimed 73 lives. However, the visual impact of the Hindenburg's fiery demise, captured on film and broadcast to millions, had a psychological effect that far outweighed the numbers. As a historian, I find it fascinating how certain events can have an impact disproportionate to their scale, simply due to how they're perceived and reported. Today, the site of the Hindenburg crash is marked with a memorial at Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst. A chain-outlined pad and bronze plaque indicate where the airship's gondola landed, serving as a solemn reminder of the lives lost and the end of an era in aviation history. As we reflect on this disaster, it's important to remember that every tragedy, while terrible in itself, often leads to advancements in safety and technology. The lessons learned from the Hindenburg disaster have undoubtedly contributed to making modern air travel as safe as it is today. The site of the Hindenburg crash is at the Lakehurst naval entity of Joint Base Maguire-Dix Lakehurst. It is marked with a chain-outlined pad and bronze plaque where the airship's gondola landed. As we conclude our exploration of the Hindenburg disaster, it's important to consider the broader implications and lessons we can draw from this tragic event. The Hindenburg serves as a powerful reminder of the risks inherent in pushing the boundaries of technology and the importance of rigorous safety protocols in all forms of transportation. One aspect that I find particularly poignant is how the disaster affected the perception of hydrogen as a fuel source. The vivid images of the Hindenburg in flames created a lasting association between hydrogen and danger in the public mind. This perception has persisted for decades and has arguably slowed the development of hydrogen as an alternative fuel source. It's a stark example of how a single event can shape public opinion and technological development for generations. As we look to the future of aviation and transportation, the story of the Hindenburg continues to offer valuable insights. It underscores the importance of thorough testing, the need for redundant safety systems, and the critical role of public perception in the adoption of new technologies. While we may never know with absolute certainty what caused the Hindenburg to ignite on that May evening in 1937, the disaster's legacy continues to influence and inform our approach to innovation and safety in the skies. The Hindenburg disaster shattered public confidence in the giant passenger-carrying rigid airship and marked the abrupt end of the airship era. Thank you for joining me on this journey through one of the most iconic moments in aviation history. Your viewership, likes, and comments are greatly appreciated and truly make a difference to this channel. If you have any thoughts on the Hindenburg disaster or suggestions for future topics you'd like me to explore, please do share them in the comments below. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies and your mind open to the lessons of history.